And we are
And
live.
we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I don't have a cool intro song like Ricardo has on his shows or our shows together because I don't do them. He does. So I've yet to get that far. But then Ricardo can just take over for me because
You have to write the lyrics
Riverside
and then.
Riverside wouldn't let me choose 620. I wasn't quite ready. We've been part of the Mars discussion panel for the past was that 2 hours, 45 minutes? I think
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, wonderful show, but a little taxing, and there's much to try to squeeze in between. So I'm gonna let Ricardo say hello to everybody, and I'm gonna message Vince because we did give Vincent Barrows an invite to come hang with us. And I saw a few of you already hanging out, so we're gonna press live, let Ricardo talk while I go get the talent here, get some vocal lubricant. I'll be right back.
So, greetings to Screw. Am I saying it correctly? Hi, Jaquels, Jacqueline. And Jason did the favor of pressing live and say, now entertain the people because I'm going to get some drinks. So, he just abandoned me here. It's like in a pond full of sharks, although I know it's all friendly people out there. But hi. Oh my god, my eyes. I can't read this small. Humberg? Is that it? Did I say it correctly? I hope so. So tonight we'll continue our reading of DeSoto, which is the first thing now that Jason isn't here. The first interesting thing is will be to see Jason literally fishing for where we left. But I think he took note on a paper of the page that we were, which I hope he knows where the page is. And we'll continue from there. And tomorrow we'll continue the reading of Stardust, and the next chapter will be concerning consciousness. And let me use the time to say that if you haven't seen it yet, the Sweet Sunday News was today at. It isn't 11:11. It's 1. It was at 1 in the afternoon, 1 Central. So you can find it in the Universe Unveiled YouTube and all the other usual places. Uh, what more? We just came out of the Mars panel, as Jason said, and I'm not sure exactly what to say more while I wait for Jason, who is usually the spokesman. I hardly have anything to say unless I'm posed a question or an idea to reflect on. So let's see if he comes back and shows some respect for the people that are waiting for him. You can hear him in the background. So if you have any notes or anything that you want to ask about what we've been reading, put some ideas forward, you have the chat to do so. That's why we enjoy people coming live. Yeah, he arrives precisely when he means to. I didn't read. I didn't need to manage to read that excellent quote from Gandalf. Good one. Oh, okay, Jacqueline. My idea on the tide check is that I think we cannot be everywhere at the same time and we cannot do all things. So, considering the mission that we are preparing for ourselves within the Institute, we'll have to be patient, not to give the other cheek, but also not to encourage or add to the fire of these discussions between affiliated and non affiliated researchers. And perhaps it's not our part in it to do that job. There's other people to do that. But we are all also partly human. I'm not sure about Jason, but we we sometimes can't resist
Mostly
to
man. It was mostly man.
cannot resist to add to that fire. But I think what you said was brought us back into reasoning from rage, and we'll be better for it. So thank you. Yes, I already passed through that.
Oh, good man.
If it wasn't for the chat, I'll be lost in here.
Well, this is when I wanted to start at 6:30. We wrapped up Mars Disclosure, and personally, I wanted to go at 6:30. But it is we're on different continents, you all, at the moment, and so it is kind of early morning over there. So I proposed 6:30 to Ricardo, and I instantly heard the look on his face, and and I said, "All right, man, let's just go now." And so I set the link at 6:15. And so I still needed to accomplish getting a few things, making sure Jacob was settled, because Mars Disclosure has been our afternoon. And
Are you ascending? Are you ascending right now? Or no?
Apparently, right now. It'll change in like 5 minutes, man. It's like that's honestly what I was doing. If I'm totally honest, y'all, I went outside and the sun was so warm. And I've been in here for 3 hours, sitting right here with Mars
You could
Disclosure.
have done it half an hour, 1 hour after. I told
well,
you to pick the time.
Oh, now you tell me. But my point is, no, I'm fucking with you. But what I was enjoying out there was the sun was so warm, and there's a family of hawks that are in the trees right by my front yard, and my backyard has a family of owls, pigeons, right? The babies as well. So the noises are just insane around here, but in the afternoons, it's the baby hawks screeching. So I was enjoying that and a little sun on the face. But if you actually want to read a little, I will go for another tenor out there and get some vitamin D with the baby birds that were talking to me. But yeah, that's what's going on here is the sun is setting. It's where it's why we always go at 7 or before this, because the sun just does. Jason doesn't have a chance. It's going to be. But I'm reading, so it can just be like the light is reading to you. There. DeSoto and his men were not called Christians. We do not understand why they called them Christians. See, that's much more effective with this light, isn't it? I think that works. Oh, look, I even got a little blue visitor down there.
So am I to understand that Screw was on the Mars panel? Because I'm not understanding.
Yeah, he was there. He was there. I did forget one thing as a producer. I need a handful of batteries because we're going to be here for a minute and the sun's going to go down. So I'm coming right back, y'all. Continue to talk. We usually go 10 minutes of intro on this show, Ricardo. So you're at 8.
Okay. I'm assuming that Jason is the padre, right? Is that it, Screw? Because that's what I'm getting. So, we had another mass panel. We had Oleg giving us his presentation and showing us this mathematical constants that on one side I find interesting that we can show those constants in mathematical terms. On another,
why are we talking about math? This is my show. I didn't okay.
Well, I have to fill time. You are the host. Where are you?
This is what you get for having an earlier bedtime because you're on a separate part of the globe. You have to.
I'm
to
the
take
one
over.
in the separate part of the globe. It's not you. It's me. Okay.
Yeah, because you were over here and now you're not. So that I didn't move. That makes it you did the action. See, you separated. So yeah, kind of.
Hi, Bill. Thank you for telling me that. It's our Discord, not mine. It's ours. And if it was anyone's, it would be Guy. Guy, our IT guy, our brilliant IT guy, is the one that creates all those things. So
all I did was confuse everything with alliteration. So that's all.
Oh, I'm. It's spreading. I'm the padre. Okay, it's spreading. Okay.
It is. We're gonna get you there. I mean, we've got to have some sort of formal representation, right?
Yeah, but you are our spiritual leader.
Yeah, but I always say that God's not in the organization at the top of the Catholic Church, so we would need our own variant, right? And I also I don't like to be part of any organization, sort of on the spiritual level, right? So that's you, boss. You're the left hand, in this little scenario here. So you got to do it, man. You got to be the padre. It's
There's no
the
boss.
collar. The collar. Are you against the collar? Is that the thing?
Who,
I mean,
me?
we might could debate the collar. You'd have to wear the
If I'm a
collar
g-
with the
Oh, you want me to wear a
to be the
collar? Is that what you're
padre.
saying?
Yeah, like
Do,
the
do I
Catholic
need to
fathers.
bark too?
Oh no, not a dog collar. No, no. I told you to keep that shit to yourself. I do believe in having an open mind. I really do. But like I said, some things are for private chats and some things are for the live ones, right? Other people
Okay.
are not
Well,
necessarily as
you
open-minded as I am, right? It's just
you placed me into it. You showed me that way, so you can't blame me now.
that was Jacob. That wasn't me, okay? I was off in the woods. I left you in charge of Jacob. I come home, you've got the collar, and he's holding the leash. And I'm like, dog sitter my ass. This is not how it happens, Ricardo. And then
Yeah,
Ricardo's
at
like,
least
what?
I kept him from
It just
destroying the
felt
house.
right. I mean, he just looks me in the eye and says, like, what? It just felt right. And I'm like, man, that's not.
I wanted to have the experience of what it was to be you.
What's Bob Dylan positively 4th Street, where he says, just what is it? If just one moment, I wish that you could stand inside my shoes. No, I can't sing it, but I'm trying to remember it. And just for that one moment, I could be you. Yes, just for that one moment, you could stand inside my shoes. Then you know what a drag it is to see you.
Wow, that's bad. Because I was
That's
going
quite
for,
a long, man. He was a hell of a lyricist, but that is quite a long way of telling somebody to fuck her off, isn't it?
Because I was going to say that if you are you, because you are you, and I am I because I am I, then I am I and you are you. But if you are you because I am I, and I am I because you are you, then you are not you and I am not I. So
Why do
there's
I come
also that
second
side.
alphabetically? Why do you come first alphabetically? That's who decided this? Why am I the you and you're the
Nobody.
I don't like that. I mean, if you want to be
I,
you and I want to be you, that's okay. Or if you want to be I and I want to be I, that's okay because then we're both the same. But if you're going to be I and I'm going to be you, I do have to raise my hand
no,
and say
this is applied in terms of friendship, right? Because
you
this
could
is
you could have
based
just
on
my name's Jason. You could have gone with Jay, and then I'd be right after you alphabetically. But instead, I'm like
yeah.
way the fuck down
No, you
there.
would be before me because I start with an
Kind of
R.
insulting, Ricardo.
No, I'm saying I'm
I
insulted
don't. I don't think
because
I want. I don't think I want a padre that insults me. I may have to take back my vote, and I'm keeping my collar.
keep it. Just keep it. Make your own sermons.
Welcome, everybody, to finding things within and without. We're learning about Ricardo's.
He's almost without, but let's see
We're
what
learning
it
about
goes.
Ricardo's. Well, I'm working on in these first 10 minutes, and I did miss the first, 5 to 8 of them. I'm working on in these first 10 minutes, trying to sort of just stream of consciousness, either have fun with myself or with you, because we're doing so much together. And so, I'm just trying to, just like you've got me oiling the mechanism of the reader here a lot, that's kind of oiling the mechanism of turn something on. I can get out there and do this shit. It's like that mechanism too. So there's method to madness. Don't you always tell me that, or are you lying to me? I thought you meant it. Your eyes looked sincere.
There's two things in friendship. One was taught to me by Michael, the person behind the multiverse.
Yeah.
Not Dave's multiverse, but the book. And he told me right at the beginning of a friendship, like 30 years ago, that a friend is someone that is brutally honest with you. So being condescendent in a friendship is the worst mistake one person can make, because it leads to further and further and further, and it brings people apart. It's better to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
and then we have on par. And the
And
thing that
if
I'm
you've got to bleed one way, there was a scientific study, Ricardo, that literally validated the fact that amongst friends, amongst close friends being your study group, right, that those that routinely made fun of each other had longer, healthier, and happier and more fulfilling friendships.
yeah. Unless you are Shrek and the donkey, and when you are try to be honest and try to be rash, the donkey replies, "Only a truly friend be that devastatingly honest."
Well,
But another aspect,
somebody's got to be honest with you, and if you don't have somebody in your life that can be fucking honest with you when you need them to, then you probably having some problems.
but the other aspect of friendship is many friendships tend to decay because people keep evaluating others by their own standards.
Oh yeah.
And if we accept a person as a friend, we have to accept the good parts and the defects,
Yep.
because otherwise we'll always be disappointed.
Right.
So
Right.
the accepting of the other one is also very important. But we are sidetracking here, and I know you are
That's
eager
why
to
I
start
no, I'm
reading.
agreeing with you, dude. It's fine. It's my show. We're just hanging out with folks. We're gonna say hello to the chat, and then we'll launch into some reading of these chronicles and see what we can extract from them. But see, I was going with you, and you just redirected the thought, and I lost it. Say the last thing you said. We'll get back. We'll make
I
our way
said
back
that
there.
the acceptance of the other makes things work. Because if you don't, we'll be
Right.
constantly disappointed.
Yes. That yeah, I remember what my joke now, and it's 90% truth. Is that is why I wear my defects up front, you know, for that very reason.
Yeah,
Let's
but
just put all those up there.
it's enough, Jason. We are ready to start seeing your virtues. Okay.
Really?
You
You
can
sure?
you can start showing your
I don't
virtues
show
instead of
those.
only your
No,
defects.
I don't show those, Ricardo. And again, method to madness, right? Because you call me a spiritual leader. Jesus, when he talked about praying and when he talked about being with God, he said, do it in the quiet place, right? He said, don't do it in front of everybody. That's not where this connection will transpire at first, right? That's not what you do. That's not the rules, right? So obviously, that's just my version of that, dude. You know, that's all. That's how it translated into my personality, I guess. I mean, there's method. And it's also, I like it. I like smiling, man. Shit, guys, we were on the Mars Disclosure just a minute ago, and it was an excellent show there by Oleg and his presentation, and that's part of what has me fried because I was having to focus on numbers, and that's not my gig. But it was when he handled it. He handled it so well. Um, See, I went to compliment Oleg, and I forgot what I was saying. I'm tired. We've been at this
You were
forever. You want me to
complimenting
start
Oleg.
reading? No, okay. It's what everybody said at the end because I was getting through Oleg. Thank you, sir. That's why partners are important when you're doing 6 hours of podcasting in one afternoon. Um, all right. So Oleg, okay, energy, right? Out of nowhere, no one asks anybody to say anything. And I know being next to you guys, we're always trying to compliment each other, right? And there's never any I receive that whatever people say nice words and it's always touching, right? But tonight, Brian just says, and Jason, your energy, and I had never, whatever, I don't account for it, because I'm in here, you know what I mean? But also in the way I operate, energy is the thing. I don't know how to say this. Energy is a vital resource. It is you when you just boil it down to the end of the deep bottom layer, right? We are energy, and so I very much try to structure, and have in high regard where I put my energy, right? And so to have somebody just spit that word out of their mouth that, hey man, it's just your energy, is incredible, and I was very touched because it is at the end of the day what I'm engaged with, and what everybody who's been following this series, Ricardo, understands, is I'm engaged with this interesting process of trying to transfer and somehow, put my energy into this podcasting production, right? And it's a constant, just there, and it's constant experimenting, and it's constant. Let me just be crazy for 10 minutes and see if that's funny. Can I do funny now? Can I ride that wave, or can I not? So that's all. Um, and that's
Yeah,
kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to grow and
Jason,
keep
y-
figuring it
you,
out, dude.
you have a gift that is you are
See, fuck
able
off. Fuck.
you are able
Not
to
on my
speak.
show.
You are able to speak. See? Because if you leave me here alone, I can speak, but I need to have a challenge. I need to have a question. I have to have an idea,
It's true.
right? Because there's nothing there, right?
There's nothing here either. That's the whole
There's
experiment, bro.
nothing there. So
Is can I rely on what is not in here and not coming from here? Can I stay in that moment? Some people call it whatever, stream of consciousness. Is it something? And mostly trying to experiment with this by myself. That's why you're getting to let me play with somebody else. Can I make that work? So that's fun. But that's all we've been doing for 20 minutes now.
yeah, yeah.
We can read.
But it's a gift. What you do in the river, what you do in your art, picking up the phone and recording yourself and have something to say. I can't do it, man. I just can't do it.
Well, thank you. I won't be an asshole. I'm also trying to exhibit the behavior I tell you to. So thank you. Um, I just, I've learned when, like any artist, I guess, would maybe be a word that's close, but I don't say I own that word, right? Is I've learned when the impulse is true and correct. And, I've learned to then, because of modern technology, right? And it's easy in the beginning to just press the button and boom, get that instantly there. That's all. And that's all I've tried to hone, so that when I do now, turn it on to go, it is of value. I can trust that because of the experience, it will be of value, and it will be something, not just because I want to say it. You know what I mean? Um, that's all. So thank you for noticing that, because it has kind of been my modus operandi, I guess. And, it's, you don't want to be performative. You want to be authentic, and you want your authenticity to be from passion, right? And when I'm focused on what I am passionate about, right, and these areas that we cover on this show and all the other places we talk about some of my shit, then yeah, man, I just try at that point to turn over
But
to
that's the gold of it, because you do it being yourself. Because I see
right,
many people doing it, but they have to incorporate a persona. They
right,
have to become this character, and then they can perform, right? Because they
right.
are very methodical. They have everything structured. They know the text in forward, what you're going to say. You have none of that. It's just yourself. It's like you are there, you are having your thoughts, and might as well record them because I'm going to have them anyway. So
It was I guess, if you're going to call it a gift, it was a gift largely crafted through pain, honestly, and through chosen, isolation, right? And I became, again, back to the screen name shaman, man. It became a very real engagement between, you know, God and other spiritual entities, right? And when you're setting that as your friend group, right, it doesn't all stay in your head, or you're missing, like, it just doesn't. So when you're out in the woods and you're by a fire, yes, much of the engagement is at a conscious level, but also to make it more real or more humanly sustainable, also words have power. One will then begin doing what others call talking to yourself, because you no longer know you're alone, and you are not talking to yourself, right? So you're just sitting there and you learn, I guess, what you're calling this gift, where your thoughts and everything that's in the moment that even nobody else sees. It's sort of like, what am I trying to say, Ricardo? It's like this. I learn to walk through scenarios with a constant companion. That's one way to say it. Okay. So when I'm going through normal scenarios in real world and something goes, oh fuck, what was that? Right. I then was by habit almost sort of training myself to go, yo, what the fuck was that? And engaging this other, this constant companion. Right. So that has been very, very helpful in this whole weird thing of sitting in front of a microphone and trying to convey, these stories and these points, but also being cognizant of the fact that people like to smile. And, it's good if you can sort of throw laughs in there, because that's what I learned in the pain, man. And that was not to get emotional, but that was the life-saving part, honestly, y'all, was being able to find humor with somebody other than just me, right? When you're alone and you're going through terrible things, right? That is an absolute, absolute superpower, right? Is how I experienced it when I was able to then be going through some bullshit, Ricardo, some fucking bullshit, right? And being able to sit there and laugh with somebody about like the bullshit, just as we all know from pain, if you can laugh a little, it helps. So all of these are things that I just developed recently, I guess is all I'm trying to say. I'm sure they were really there, but so maybe I haven't accounted for them. You know what I'm saying? Like from any sort of objective standpoint. But to your point, and we'll start reading, the other thing that hits me is authenticity, right? I don't, I, First of all, it's been too long a goddamn road to be this dude, right? So if I were to engage in anything that made me have to sort of not be this dude, it's not going to fucking happen. It's just not going to happen. That's called personal agency at this point. Once you've been through enough as a human being and you've claimed who you are, right? To me, then agreeing to wear a mask for any reason is icky, right? It's just why? Why would you do that? And it's certainly not going to be what. Look, Ricardo, all the shit I bring and all the funny shit I might say and how I might be entertaining, right? The value, right, of what I'm bringing is none of that, at the end of the day, right? So if I keep my mind there, right, that it's more message than messenger, right, then, keep all that shit in check.
So I like the words of Peter Sellers when he was asked, "Who are you?" And he said, "There is no me. I don't exist. There used to be a me, but I had surgically removed."
Honestly, I'm just the guy way back in the back. You never see me get up. I have learned from very long and hard experience. You just shut the fuck up, hold on, and when they stop, make sure you ask for your ice cream flavor. Otherwise, they're just going to throw you some shit. Right? Otherwise, I'm just the guy that I don't even know. I'm just holding on while I try to. You got to focus on the moment, man. There's none of this, none of these esoteric and spiritual or whatever things you want to talk about, these non material things. None of it is accessible outside the moment. So at the end of the day, it's just me finding yet another way to constantly, I'm trying to always be present in the moment, right? So that's hard to do with a mind like mine, unless you're going to sit here and fill the air or something in order to maintain that moment in a lot of ways. If you don't have anybody else, you know where I'm going, to listen to. Okay.
Yeah, but it's
Are we breaking down podcasting tonight? Is that what we're doing? Okay.
just the mind.
Let's continue.
The mind is. There's so much going on at the same time that there is no voice that can keep up or make sense. It makes sense up there in the heater, but it wouldn't make sense played into sound. It would be a mess, right? Mm-hmm. And you can do it. You can bring those voices into a path and say what you want to say, right? Yeah. You can formulate that. And that's what I'm saying that is the gift. Okay. Not many people have that. Without a script, without planning, without a character, being yourself. And that's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, bro. See, I'm
now you can
thank
read.
You. I'm shutting up. Yeah, I'm shutting up. So I'm thanking you. All right, let's go. I don't have tactile paper, do I? So I do remember page 822. And I have us tabbed here. Oh. Dude, I gotta get a better chair if I'm gonna be doing this for like 8 hours a
Yeah,
day.
that wooden chair looks beautiful, but it's not
Yeah,
comfortable
but
to
none of them
sit.
are actually, none of the available ones are actually comfortable when you're 6'5" and kind of have shitty posture. So it's sort of,
Just just range one of those plastic
it's
ones.
my fault, not the chairs. Okay. Put one of the whats?
Buy a plastic one and put 4 books each under each leg.
I've got a pillow under my arse, which is non-existent. You know, it's kind of like my arms. That's what I have naturally to sit on. So I do have a pillow. But no, it's never an issue, except when, you know, I don't double dip a lot like this without a break. You know what I mean? Okay, so oh, that's right. We had left off with the section where he was naming all of the horsemen, right? So that was section. I'm just going to scan, guys, because I like to be proper here and give you a bit of a recap.
I
as
made a
we launch in.
prediction when you were off that this was going to happen.
No, I know where we are. I'm right on the right page. What I'm doing now is I'm scanning
because
to
you
make sure
wrote
I
it
remind
down. You wrote it. You remember that you wrote the page down?
I did. Yeah.
You
But
don't know where the paper is. But
I don't
you wrote
have
it down.
I don't have it open to that page, but are you saying because I wrote it down I remembered it? Yes, I believe you. I believe that. I totally do. That's why most of these notes, man, if you were to read them now, they make absolutely no sense because they're just from times mostly when I knew that just write it down and it'll be there. Okay, so one day Anosco is going, Anosco? Get rid of the southern accent. One day. Okay, so he's heading back to the bay, right? They're going back to Hicawagwa, where the gentleman had his nose cut off. So basically where they landed, and I forget the reasoning, but he then takes 30 Lancers with him, and the section we read as we were ending last was where the author was taking the opportunity to name all of them individually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
going to do 200 leagues? Is that do I remember correctly?
It was over 100, yeah. I don't remember if it was 120 or 200, but I do have a 2 stuck in there somewhere. Section 8. What the 30 horsemen did until their arrival at Vitachuco. That's right, going back to see Vitachuco. He was where, if you guys remember, the 7 soldiers, after they stayed 24 hours in the water and they were floating on top of each other, shooting their arrows for 24 hours, that was Vitachuco's revolt. What is that? These 20 horsemen and 10 others whose names, don't say anything, whose names are lacking to make up the number of 30, left the town of Apalachee on October 20 of the year 1539 to go to the province of Hirahigua, where Pedro de Calderon was. They carried orders that will be told later as to what they were to do on sea and on land. All traveled very lightly, with only helmets and coats of mail over their clothing. Their lances in their hands and a pair of knapsacks on their saddles containing some horseshoes and nails and the food that they could put into them for horses and riders. They left the camp a good while before daylight, and so that the news of their coming should not precede them and the Indians thus be warned to go out and take the passes, they traveled at a good speed, running where it was possible to do so. That day they spread 2 Indians whom they met on the road, spread them, that's a whole nother meaning. That day they speared 2 Indians whom they met on the road, killing them. Right, we're starting right off with the murder. I mean, it's like, can we quit making rivers of blood everywhere? Could you? That'd be great. So that the narrative I have in my head would have one
Just a
fucking
warm
leg
up.
to stand on.
Starting the journey, just a little warm up. Just stretch the arm.
They labeled them Christians, and that's my option is spearing. Okay, cool.
Well, they could have killed them with a Bible, but
How many have they, Ricardo? How many have they?
Yeah, the covers used to be wood, so you can imagine. It makes a dent.
Exactly. They wrote it in a language nobody could speak but the top pedophiles, you know? It's like, like what kind of cult is this? This is God's word, right? Okay, who can read it? Those up there. Is that the one you told me that did the thing with you? And okay, wait a minute. I'm not in. They left the
There's
camp.
love in that because they read and they
No,
pat
there's
you
not.
in the head while
There's
they're
trauma
reading.
and there's screwed up souls in that, and that's what there is in that. No.
There's good people. There's good people in the religion.
In the
There's good
church,
people.
yes.
Yeah.
Everybody. I am very clear when I talk about systems, right? I'm talking about the systems, right? And what those systems innately are, become, what their interests are, and they are never you. They never are you, ever. Right? It's like, when is fear not the reason for bad shit in this world? Never. It's the same thing here. It's like they never are worried about you, right? And that's the thing with systems. I don't care what that system calls itself. That's what we're learning by reading this. This system that calls itself Christian, what are they doing, right? It's wholesale murder, genocide, rape, human trafficking, right? That's what it is. Okay, so I'm not speaking out against Christians, right? I am a follower of Christ, right? His roadmap fucking saved my life. Right? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about these systems that wear these labels, and you don't even notice half the time. You just go, oh, I'm that. I guess this must be the system for me, you know? And that whole time, the system is going, more, fodder for the machine. Look, more people to rape and people to take money from and people to take advantage of, right? That's what systems do, right? That's all I'm saying. So it doesn't matter what system I'm talking about, whether it's government, whether it's church, whether it's whatever.
It's kind as the yin and yang because while the church at the community level has done some very good things for people, independently if we are to follow the religion.
When power is not concerned, much can happen, right?
So, but at the higher level, it was always used as an excuse for control and power.
Right.
So the people that they would send in name of God in these missions, right, would never be people that would do the job that we see in these communities, these little churches doing that good job. That person would never be able. They would die at the hand of the Indians, right? Or be absorbed into their culture. It has to be people ready to do all the terrible things you said.
Yes, this is why, again, nothing offensive here, right? We've said from the beginning that no, what they're doing is they're marching under a banner that is effective for the means they wish to accomplish as a business entity, basically, right? And that's it. They know that if we fly the church's banner, not only because the church at this point has become a banner flyer. And by that, we mean the Pope and the power structure, right? It is just a power just like the kings of the world, right? It's the same. And it has its worldly interest and all that shit. And so they ally as business interests. That has nothing to do with the faith in an ever-present creator that wishes us all to be equals amongst equals and live to a happy and bright fucking future. That has nothing to do with that.
When the Silk Road was lost, they decided to regain the Holy Land because they were looking for a new route to bring the goods. It's not about gaining the Holy Land. It's about making the trade continue to happen.
Right.
So it has to be by force. So they convince all these people, look, if we go there, we'll remove all your sins. How stupid is that, to put the power of God, whatever God they believe it is, into the hands of these people saying these words. God will forgive all your sins if you go there and kill everybody.
Right.
Can you see the conundrum there is here?
Yeah, I see it loud and clear, bro. I mean, that's my only point, is they do not go together. That's how loud and clear it is.
By the way, if you're going, could you just leave all your money with us so you can have your money when you are in the Holy Land for all your expenses. And then you die there, and we'll keep your money.
We'll keep
It
a
won't
tiny
get back.
bit. Tiny
No,
bit.
no, they keep it all.
If they die, yeah. But
If they die, they
if
keep
they
it all.
make
The
it, we
lands,
still
the
keep a tiny bit.
lands, everything. That's how the
Right.
church gains so much money. Not the church, in this case, the Templars.
The Templars, right.
That's one of the reasons the church wanted to end the Templars, because they were literally the bankers. If you go to the Holy Land, you give them all you have. They
Right.
give you a paper, and with that paper you can withdraw small amounts for your life in the Holy Land. Right? And then you die, and you
first
don't give the money
banking
back to the
system.
family. It's theirs.
Right. No doubt. Yes, we're in a talky mood today. We've been talking all day in front of these cameras. Okay, where were we?
Tammy, haven't you seen guys in a while? Well, we've been hiding.
Yeah. The Spaniards slept, no, so we were, they continued their march. Nope. Yeah.
How much diabetes? What's that?
All of them traveled very lightly, with only helmets and coats of mail over their clothing, their lances in their hands, and a pair of knapsacks on their saddles containing some horseshoes and nails and the food that they could put into them for horses and riders. They left the camp a good while before daylight, and so that the news of their coming should not precede them and the Indians thus be warned to go out and take the passes, they traveled at a good speed, running where it was possible to do so. That day they speared 2 Indians whom they met on the road, killing them so that they might not give an alarm and warn those who were scattered about the country. Justification.
So probably the Indians didn't try to be aggressive to them. They just decided
No,
to kill
this
them.
is part of their plan because their idea is they've already been through this part of the country, and if they are now been ordered to go back through it, and they know there's resistance where they've already received it, that their only chance is to run at high speed and kill everything, ask no questions, and just keep damn moving. And they're probably right, you know. I mean, I'm not
For their
saying
preservation, yes, they are.
yeah, I'm not saying right. I'm not saying their logic in saving their own lives is wrong but again, what's the mission? You know,
Many that live deserve death, and many that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? So, it's a terrible question.
yeah. I mean, reincarnation, bro. It's just but you got to go through the whole infant stuff again. But it's like pretty quick. It's like a reset. I mean, it's like that you can die one day and back as a baby the next if you
I
so
can
choose.
imagine the
I recommend taking a little fucking time off myself, but.
I can imagine the people that are really, it's strange thought to me, but are really tired of living, right? Which is a strange thought to me.
Yeah.
And so if you're correct and they die and they come immediately, he can say, oh, fuck's sake.
I would say I'm ever tired of living. Some days I am a little tired of a body. I'll be honest. Some days I am a little over matter, but that's not over life by any stretch of the imagination. But I would like to graduate and just like pause reincarnation and like just float around in a light body and all that pain-free shit for a bit.
I won't be bored in 10,000 years.
No, you got about 2,000 more lifetimes to go. I'll be your spirit guide. Don't worry. I'll see you through. I'll see you through the first rough 500. It's only the first 500 that are bad. Like after that, it's like smoking cigarettes. It's like it's like just flicking cigarette butts after the first 500. You know. But then when you get all the memories back, you're like, oh, I'm tired.
I don't need that, Jason. I don't intend to die, so.
I know you don't, because you're lifeless. You don't identify with your body, the material, because we are all,
In fact, as you heard today,
whether we identify with it or not, but you identify with it more than most.
As you heard today on Sweet Sunday News, we are much more capable in terms of conservation of our body than we are led to believe, and some of that has been suppressed on purpose. So, but carry on. We're
You're doing like me. You're going into default podcasting mode. That day, okay. So we got these speared Indians. They always traveled with this precaution against the news of their coming going ahead of them. Thus, on that day, they marched the 11 leagues between Appalachia and the swamp, which they crossed without opposition from the enemy. No small advantage, because however few Indians might have come, there would have been enough to shoot arrows at the horses in such a narrow road as that through the woods and the water. The Spaniards slept on the plain entirely beyond the woods, having traveled and marched that day more than 13 leagues. While resting, they kept watch by thirds, in groups of 10, as we have told above. They continued their march before daybreak and covered the 12 leagues of uninhabited country that lies between the swamp of Appalachia and the town of Osachile. They went with the fear that the Indians would know of their approach and would come out to oppose their passage, so they advanced slowly. Waiting for nightfall, and about midnight, they passed through the town, going at a canter. A league beyond the pueblo, they left the road and rested the remainder of the night, a third of them keeping watch, as we have said. That day, they traveled more than 13 leagues farther. Are you keeping up with our numbers? At dawn, they continued their journey, going at a canter because there were people in the fields. They always did this when they were passing through inhabited country, so that the news of their coming should not go. What? Oh, he's just repeating this. Like, I didn't know I didn't start over. So the news of their coming should not go ahead of them, which was what they most feared. Thus, they traveled the 5 leagues from the place where they slept to the Rio de Osachile at the expense of the horses. And they were so good that they endured everything. On approaching the river, Gonzalo Silvestri, who, because he had urged his horse more than the others, was riding ahead, went to look at it with much misgiving, fearing to find it higher than when the army had crossed it, but God willed that it now carried less water than before. In his satisfaction at seeing it thus, he plunged it into and swam across and came out on the plain on the opposite side. When his companions saw him on the farther bank, they were very pleased, because all of them had had the same fear of finding the river swollen. They crossed without any mishaps, and by way of celebration and rejoicing for having crossed the river, they ate lunch. Then they traveled at a moderate pace, the 4 leagues from this Rio de Osachile to the town of Vitachuca. The scene of the chief Vegetails, the scene of the chief Vitachuca's temerity. The Castilians proceeded with the uneasy expectation of finding the town of Vitachuco as they had left it, and they feared that they would have to fight with its inhabitants and gain passage by force, where it might happen that they, the Indians, would kill or wound some man or horse, a misfortune that would double the labors and difficulties of the road. They therefore agreed among themselves that none of them would remain to fight, but all would endeavor to pass on without stopping. With this determination, they came to the town, where they lost all their anxiety because they found it entirely burned and destroyed, the walls leveled to the ground. The bodies of the Indians who died on the day of the battle, and those whom they killed on the day that the chief Vitachuca struck the governor, were all heaped together in the fields, no one having desired to bury them. The Indians said later that they abandoned and destroyed the town because it was found on an unlucky and unfortunate site, and the dead Indians, as ill-fated men who had not carried out their pretensions, they left unburied as food for birds and wild beasts, for among them this was a very infamous punishment and was given to those who were unlucky and unfortunate in arms. As to people who were accursed and excommunicated after their heathen custom, they so regarded this town and those who died in it, because it seemed to them that the disaster that happened there had been caused more by the unluckiness of the place and the ill fortune of the dead than by the strength and bravery of the Spaniards. For their numbers were so small against so many and such brave Indians. Section 9. The journey of the 30 Lancers continues until reaching Rio de Ochachile, or Ocale.
Do these rivers still have the same names, or can we identify these
Well,
rivers?
Ocale is in Florida, correct? I mean, that is, so we're still in Florida. I mean, at least by current name reference, yeah. I mean, that's referenced all over the place. A couple of counties, maybe a city. I don't know. Chat, you could help us out. All right. Wondering at what they had seen, the Spaniards passed through the town and had scarcely left it when they found 2 Indian nobles who, armed with their bows and arrows, were hunting, not expecting to see Christians that day. But when they saw them appear, they took refuge under a very large walnut tree that was close by. One of them, not trusting much in the safety of his position, ran away from the tree and went to take shelter in the woods that were on the same side of the road. 2 of the Castilians, much against their captain's wishes, went to head him off. And before the Indian reached the woods, they overtook him. A small enough accomplishment for 2 horsemen. The other Indian, who had more courage and waited under the tree, was luckier, because fortune favors the daring as people who deserve it. Putting an arrow in his bow, he faced all the Spaniards, who came up at a canter, one after the other, and made a gesture of shooting it if they should come nearer to him. He's threatening. Some of them, angered by the Indians' audacity and boldness, or envious at seeing a spirit and courage so unusual and strange, wished to dismount and attack him on foot with their lances in their hands.
Honor.
Wow. This is a weird boss. I want to fight it without my mount. That's, you know, like in a video game, like, I mean, that's just kind of, that's a disturbing.
Well,
Isn't that
for
disturbing?
one, he doesn't want his horse to be hurt, because the horse is his life.
Okay, but
in
you
that
got a
place.
gun. You got gun. You know.
No, he's a
crossbows.
lancer. He doesn't necessarily has a gun. He's a lancer.
If you're gonna kill the guy, you know, if that's the plan, isn't it kind of
Yeah,
weird?
but he
to,
knows
like,
he
get
has
off
he has
and say,
armor
"We wanna
from
do
the
it with
waist
our
up.
blades"?
He has metal from the waist up. So, it's. I know
Yeah,
how to
that's
explain
what I'm
it.
saying.
It's a matter of.
weird.
It's the thrill of the fight. It's the honor.
That's what
okay?
I'm saying. It's kind of psychopathic.
Yeah, it's like in the movies when they drop the weapons and say, "Okay, you're a man, face me without a gun," and so that's the kind of feeling.
Yeah, they're fully armored. They're fully armed. They're definitely killing him. That is the plan. Murder, right? And they're like gonna
They're
slow
giving
it
him
down
a good death.
so they can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Warrior's
Just so we're
death.
clear, psychopaths. I mean, seriously, dude. I mean, when you've got to put down a horse, okay, right, and you've got to do it. How do you do it? Do you get your sword and cut his legs, and then let him bleed slowly, and then maybe stab him in the chest so that kind of hurts for a while, right? And then
No,
maybe
you start
slit
by
his
the
throat.
ears.
You shoot him in the head. You shoot him in the head. If death is the plan, right? You just do it. You obviously are going to win. There's no chance of this guy taking you out, right? So just do it. Why are you turning it into a game? That is somebody who enjoys death.
Look, the Indian is
and
doing the
slicing
same with,
people up.
with no comparison in terms of calling them inferior. It's just an allegory.
No,
There
it's
is-
just my own personal
No, I'm saying
compass.
what the Indian is doing is the same thing that the dog does by showing his teeth. He said, "Don't come near me because I'll bite." Right? And they took it as a challenge,
Right. Could be.
right?
Could be for
and
sure.
I'm answering to your challenge. Okay, I'm going
Yes.
to step down on my horse and give you what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's two misinterpreted positions.
Towards
Yeah.
trying to make everybody look noble. Okay, so they get down, attack him on foot with their lances in their hands. But Juan de, see, they're not even going at him with swords, they're taking their lances. But Juan de Añasco would not consent to it, saying that it was not valor or prudence to kill a rash and desperate man, with the risk that the Indian would kill or would wound one of them or one of their horses at a time when they needed them so much, and where they were so ill prepared for treating the wounded. Saying these words, as he was leading the rest, he made a wide circle, going away from the Indian and from the road that passed near the tree where he was. Oh my gosh, this guy in run-on sentences. It's like, you want to kind of vibe it, and then you're like, I can't vibe it because there's no punctuation. From the road that passed near the tree where he was, so that the enemy might not shoot at them in passing and wound a horse, which was what he most feared. As the Spaniard went by, this guy got paid by the word. As the Spaniard went by the Indian with an arrow in his bow, it's true, so true, pointed it at his face, threatening to shoot him. The first one having passed, and likewise the second and third and all the rest, as they went by in their order, the Indian remained in the same attitude until all had passed. And when he saw that they had not attacked him, but rather had left and fled from him, he began to shout insulting words at them, saying, "Cowards, bastards, cravens, 30 of you on horseback have not dared attack one on foot." With these boasts, he remained under his tree with more honor than all these famous soldiers had gained. So said the Castilians in their excessive envy of him, as they passed on, shamed by the shouts that he sent after them. At this point, they heard a great outcry and alarm that the Indians who were in the fields on either side gave, calling to one another, "Block the road."
You see? You should have killed him.
I mean, you know. The Spaniards
They were being
escaped.
Christians for a bit, and that's what happens.
Yeah, one time, I just don't march under the banner, and don't say that's why you're there. Then that's all you got to do to lose my ire in that regard. You know what I'm saying? Just be up front. We're here to take your shit. That's it. That's why we're here, and we're going to do it by force because we're an army. Fine, do that. Don't say you're here to win souls and claim the land for God and no. That's all. That's my only problem.
Yeah, but in there you see that when they are 300, they fear nothing. Ping, they fear nothing. But when they are 30, they tend to be very cautious because they don't have any backup, they don't have infantry, they don't have the arquebusiers or whatever is the name of the gun people. And so they would be in clear disadvantage if being attacked. They didn't even have a medical support. So they were trying to minimize any possible injuries by not attacking the man. But the Indian on his side, instead of seeing it that way, he understood that you left me here.
Right.
I'm going to start screaming, calling you all names, and well.
I mean, that's a beautiful moment, man. I love that moment for that dude. Getting to be there, and it worked. You cowards.
They all feared me. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like Indiana Jones when he's screaming, right? Hey! And then he realized that there were 300 guys with swords pointing at him, so he starts screaming on the other end. But instead of being of victory, it was of fear.
It's been the only just about beautiful moment in this text so far, to be honest with you. Got to me. The Spaniards. The Spaniards escaped this danger and other similar ones by the swiftness of their horses, always hastening and leaving the enemy behind. No shit. On this day, which was the third of their march, well after dark, they reached a fine plain, clear of timber, where they rested, having traveled and marched 17 leagues that day, the last 8 through the province of Vitachuco. On the fourth day, they marched 18 more leagues, all through the province of Vitichuco. Its natives being injured and offended from the past battle, and seeing them, the Spaniards, now marching through their country, and that they were few in number, they wished to take revenge by killing them. Therefore, they made up relays in order to pass the word one from another to give the news of the Spaniards coming, and assemble men to occupy some difficult pass and cut them off. Surmising the Indians' intention, our men followed them so closely that none who attempted to carry the message escaped them, and thus, on that day, they speared 7 Indians. At nightfall, they reached a plain, having no timber, where they thought they might rest because they heard no sounds of Indians in the surrounding country. A little after midnight, they left their beds. By sunrise, they had marched 5 leagues, reaching the Rio de Ocale.
Again?
Why would he call it Osachile? And then y'all can't see, but he called it Osachile, and now he's calling it Ocale, which last time he put in parentheses. This guy is wordy and confused. A little after midnight, they left their beds, and by sunrise, they had marched 5 leagues, reaching the Rio de Ocale, or Osachile, where we said the Indians had shot the hound Bruto. I remember. The Castilians went with some hope of finding the river with less water than they had crossed it before, as they had found the Osachile. It's separate rivers?
Yeah. Or the river makes many turns.
Well, at some point, maybe it was one of the towns. That's my fault, y'all. Because he parenthesized Ocale next to Osachile, so my bad. But the contrary was true, because for some time before they came to it, they saw the banks, which, as we said, were 2 pike lengths high, entirely covered with water that overflowed beyond them onto the plain. The river ran so rapidly, turbidly, and strongly, with so many whirlpools in every part of it, that simply looking at it inspired fear, much less having to swim across it. To this difficulty and danger was added another greater one, which was the alarm and outcry that the Indians raised on both sides of the river when they saw the Christians appear, shouting to one another to kill them as they crossed. The Spaniards, seeing that the safety of their lives lay in their good spirit, strength, and speed, immediately discussed what they ought to do in that danger. And as if by prearrangement, and as if all of them were captains, calling one another by their names, they ordered that 12 of them, who were the best swimmers, wearing only their helmets and coats of mail over their shirts, without any other clothing, so as not to hinder the horses in swimming, and carrying lances in their hands, go into the river to gain the other bank before the Indians should reach it. As there were more of them on that side, and as the whole town could assemble there, it was more dangerous, and it was necessary to keep it unobstructed and free, so that as the Spaniards swam across, the Indians might not shoot arrows at them at their pleasure. The 12 men appointed, then, seeing the imminent danger in which they were, all said with one accord, reassuring one another, that whoever might get out or whoever might die, it was impossible for them to do otherwise. They ordered also that 14 of them cut as quickly as possible 5 or 6 thick timbers from the dead trees that had fallen on the riverbank, and make a raft from them in which they could take over the saddles, clothing, and knapsacks. All the Spaniards who did not know how to swim, The Spaniards who did not know, clothing, knapsacks, and the Spaniards who could not swim. The 4 remaining men were to endeavor to hold back the Indians, who were coming at full speed from upstream and down on this side to prevent their crossing. They had no sooner made this plan than they put it into operation. The 12 men named to cross that river, taking off their clothes, at once plunged into the water. And 11 of them succeeded in coming out on the opposite bank at large gap in the bluff. The 12 who was Juan Lopez Cacho, the 12th, who was Juan Lopez Cacho, was unable to make the shore because his horse went a little downstream from the opening, and being unable to resist the velocity of the water to come out at his landing. He went on down the river to see if there were another opening by which he could come out. Although he attempted many times to ascend the bluff in order to land, he could not do so, for the bluff was as steep as a wall and the horse could not get a foothold. Therefore, he had to go back to the other bank. And as the horse had been swimming for so long without resting, he was much fatigued. Juan Lopez, bless you.
Thank you.
What? No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Duck soup? Yeah. Well, it was several of the Marx Brothers episodes. There we were testing the age of our audience. Seniors, Juan Lopez asked for help from his companions, who were cutting the timber for the raft. And 4 of them were expert swimmers. Seeing his danger, jumped into the water and brought him and his horse safely to shore, which was no small feat because they were fatigued from their labors. Here we shall leave them to tell what the governor was doing meanwhile in Appalachia. So, yeah, no, Appalachia. Ricardo asked the same question. It's not like Appalachian. No, think Appalachia Cola, Florida. You know where the river house is and like the oysters. That's where the town is. Yes. Yeah, but it's like that, Appalachia, instead of Appalachian. Yeah. Do I need to mute it? What do you need? Okay, Ricardo, take 2 seconds, y'all. Sorry. Children.
I'm quite intrigued. I don't think that the river could be as strong as the writer is describing, because a river that is very fast and has whirlwinds everywhere, I don't see people being able to swim it. Even less a horse going up and down and trying to get up a bank and then coming back. I don't know, it all sounds very suspicious to me.
Apologies, permissions were needed, so apologies.
Just some exaggeration there in the speed of the river, I think.
I think so too. He used 3 S words to describe the river. I thought, I like alliteration, but not when he's basically saying the same thing. That was a bit much. The governor captures the chief of Appalachia. Hernando de Soto was not idle while the accountant and captain, Juan de Añasco, and the 30 horsemen who went with him were making the expedition of which we have told. On the contrary, finding the Indians of the province of Appalachia, where he was, with the eagerness and solicitude that we have seen to kill or wound the Spaniards, and that they were losing no occasion that presented itself to them on which they might do it by day or by night, it seemed to him that, if he could get the chief into his hands, the stratagems and treasonable acts of his Indians would cease at once.
Would it?
So they say. He secretly took great trouble to find out where the chief was, and within a few days they brought him definite information that he was concealed in some high and very rough mountains where, though he was no more than 8 leagues from the camp, the chief believed himself to be safe. Likewise, because of the strength of his position and because of the many and good men whom he had with him for his defense. With this certain news, the general desired to make the journey himself. And taking the necessary cavalry and infantry, and guided by the same spies, he set out for the place where the chief was. Having traveled 8 leagues in 3 days, and experienced many hardships because of the difficulties of the road, he reached the place. The Indians had fortified it in the following manner. In the middle of a very large, you get it? In the middle of a very large and dense forest, they had cleared a space where the chief and his Indians had their lodging. Okay. as an entrance to the space where the chief, right, as an entrance to this plaza, they had opened through the same woods a narrow alley more than half a league in length. Shit. That sounds very cool, actually. All along this alley, at intervals of 100 paces, they had made strong palisades with thick logs which commanded the passage. Men were designated for the defense of each palisade. They had not made an exit by which to escape at any other part of this fort because they believed that even though the Spaniards should reach it, the site was so strong in itself and the men who were defending it were so numerous and so brave that it was impossible for them to gain it. Within it was the chief Capafi. I don't know where to put the stress on that one. Capafi. Well supported by his people, all determined to
Oh, it's a
die.
fraternity from the university.
Kappa, right. Kappa Phi.
Kappa Phi.
Well, Capafi. I mean, when do you do that? Capafi? Kappa? Kappafi? Kappafi? Kappafi. Kappafi. Well supported by his people, all determined to die rather than to see their lord in the power of his enemies. Upon his arrival at the entrance of the alley, the governor found the men there well prepared to defend it. The Castilians fought bravely, but since the alley was narrow, only those in the lead could fight. With this labor, solely by dint of the sword and receiving many arrow wounds, they gained the first palisade and the second. But inasmuch as it was necessary to cut the ropes made of willows and the other cords with which the Indians had fastened the cross timbers, while they were cutting them, they received much damage from the enemy. With all of these difficulties, however, they gained the third palisade and all the rest up to the last one. Though the Indians fought so obstinately that against their strong resistance, the Spaniards gained the alley foot by foot until they reached the clearing where the chief was. There the battle was hotly contested because the Indians, seeing their lord in danger of being killed or captured, fought like desperate men and thrust themselves among the swords and lances of the Spaniards in order to wound or kill them when they could not do so in any other way. On the other hand, the Christians, seeing so near the capture they desired to make, in order not to lose the result of their labor, fought as hard as possible to prevent the chiefs escaping them. The struggle and combat between the Indians and Spaniards continued for a long time, both showing their fortitude of spirit, though the Indians, for lack of defensive weapons, got the worst of it. The governor himself, desiring to have the chief in his power, and knowing him to be so near, fought like a very brave soldier, which he was, and like a good captain, he encouraged his men, calling to them loudly by name. With this, the Spaniards made a very great effort and fell upon the enemy with such ferocity and cruelty that they killed almost all of them. Page. Having done more than would have been thought possible for men not having defensive armor, these few Indians that remained, seeing that they could not now defend their chief, laid down their arms and surrendered in order that the Spaniards might not kill him after killing them. And also because the chief himself commanded them in a loud voice to do so. Why would he add, they did it so he wouldn't kill that's total infirmment, man.
That's complete.
The chief ordered them to. That's why they did it.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's all you got to say.
No other reason. No other reason. They wouldn't stop.
Right. Okay. Like I said, he runs on. Falling on their knees before Hernando, they all, as one man, begged him to spare their lord, Capafi, and to kill them instead.
Which Hernando? Hernando is not there.
Yeah, he is.
No, it isn't. He's not with the 30 Lancers.
Well, he says the governor, and that's the only one he calls the governor. And I
Yeah,
just,
but
I don't like
they
calling him
are
the governor.
they are working for the governor, but the governor isn't with the 30 Lancers, and you know it isn't because he stayed back in camp.
No, we've left the 30 Lancers. See what I mean by this guy confuses you? We've left the 30 Lancers. We're back with Hernando now. We're going to
So
go
why
back
isn't-
to the 30 Lancers. I know, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. This whole section, he prefaced the last section by telling us we were now leaving the 30 Lancers to go back to DeSoto, and then we return to the 30 Lancers. It's like, it makes no sense at all. I mean, he's not a great writer. I mean, I'm very glad he's, where it's
How
here
many
for the
fighters
history.
were in there? Didn't he also said there were 30 that couldn't go side by side? They had to go in line because of the narrow passage between the palisades and.
I don't know, but I don't want to lose my 212.
It's the same
I don't wanna
people.
lose my place, but
Yeah, it's strange. Okay.
because he says the governor captures the chief. Yeah, because remember we left them a while ago.
It's always.
But
the
it's so
government
damn
that captures.
confusing. Is why? Why do you do that? It does not advance the plot. I just don't get it. Okay. Having done more than would have been thought possible for we're loud. Falling on their knees before the governor, they all as one man begged him to spare their lord Capafi, and to kill them instead. The general, see again, Hernando, received the Indians mercifully and told them that he pardoned their lord and all of them for their past disobedience, and that in the future they would all be good friends. The chief arrived, carried in the arms of his Indians because he could not walk, and came to kiss the governor's hand. The latter received him very kindly, well satisfied to see him in his power. Capafi was a man with an extremely large body, so much so that because of being excessively fat and because of the indispositions and impediments that this always caused him, he was so helpless that he could not take a single step or stand on his feet. His Indians carried him on a litter, and wherever he wished to go in his house, he went on all fours. This was the reason Capafi had not gone farther away from the Spaniards' camp than he did, believing that the place was sufficiently distant and strong enough, and the road sufficiently rough to safeguard from them, but his confidence was misplaced. Vincent
guys.
has joined the show. How was your day,
Greetings.
dude?
Hey, it's been okay. Thanks. How about you?
Good, man.
Well,
Just plowing through this, seeing what we can learn. What you been up to today, dude?
Yeah, I had to drop off my daughter, and then drove back, so that's why I was late getting back. But yeah,
no, I guess so. At the time we do it, you'll be on the road. So.
Well, welcome.
thank you.
Thanks for joining us. So, everybody, we'd invited Vince to anytime he wanted just to pop on and listen and perhaps comment along with Ricardo and I because he has very specified knowledge on Native American subject matter.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here. And I put together some more videos on YouTube.
Vince, feel free if at any time, since you're here and I know where your skill set lies, if at any time sort of the area perhaps we're reading about or anything that you know of that's visually appealing, feel free to share a screen or whatever. Because I'm not sharing the text, I mean, it doesn't really do anything. So we're just reading. But feel free to share anything, So I'll catch you up on where we are. Welcome. I'm taking your showing as an opportunity to hydrate.
Okay, cool. Well, I put a short video together about copper, and copper being the gold of the Iroquois.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
So this is the red gold and the clean signs.
Oh, he's just going to take over for a minute? That's fine. I'm going to go get a snack. I know I have to refill my tea though, but I will. Please, Vince, show off. Listen, everybody. So we're allowing this for one reason. Vince has just, I mean, for many reasons, it's Vince. But I'd like to say that Vince has just got himself a YouTube channel, and Vince is not, after it for himself, and he's not in it for any of the wrong reasons, other than taking all of this knowledge and this research he has, and start trying to put it into a consumable format for you guys at home. So please go like, subscribe, and check out Vince. And go ahead, dude.
So this is the cleans signs in the longhouse. A lot of these are actual copper repoussé plates that were found all throughout the Midwest, and so they tie in well with the even the DeSoto Chronicles, because when the DeSoto showed up, he was after gold, but he was finding copper, and a lot of times he was disappointed because they kept on finding copper, and they would ask for gold, but even in Garden Creek Mound and other mounds, he actually reported copper plates that he found, and so these are some examples of what the copper plates look like. They're
Are there any records of him taking the sending any of this copper back to Europe?
well, I don't know if it made it back to Europe, but he had documented it in his DeSoto Chronicles.
Because I'm just trying to figure out if they think it was good enough to transport over the sea by this time, or they just discarded it because they have no use for it.
Yeah, I think when they found out that it was copper, they were disappointed, and they were just after gold. So they thought, well, it turns out that Horatio Hale and David Cusick were two of the first native authors. David Cusick was Tuscarora. He wrote a article about ancient history in 1827. One of the first the first native author that actually talked about deep history. And he wrote a book about the history of the Tuscarora and the ancient history of the country. And he even has a timeline going back before Columbus. And he talks about the moons before Columbus. So this is really interesting how it ties into the copper trade and the migration, all the clan symbols they have indicated here, even the clans of the Thunderbird, and as shown on the copper repoussé plates. Well, these have depictions that are that are similar to what was found at Cahokia, made at Cahokia Mounds, and across Illinois, Missouri, even into Ohio and in North Carolina as well.
Trying to get the link for your YouTube video. Just carry on.
Yeah, drop a link for him in the chat. And I'm going to find you, Vincent, let me pull it up, where we are now. And you can maybe see if we could find like a generalized map for everybody too. We're Appalachia, right? So that's the descriptor of where we are. The chiefs are, who are the chiefs? We just, what was his name? Capafi, C-A-P-A-F-I, was the chief they just arrested, I guess, for lack of a better word. Said he was so fat that he had to walk around on all fours, and so his people had to carry him everywhere.
That's very strange. He probably was sick already.
Right? The I don't know where I stopped because Vincent popped in, and I was like,
"All right, I didn't mean to come in and take
no,
over."
but dude, no, I don't mean it in that way. What I'm saying is because of that, I didn't, because I'm retarded. I got to kind of look at something and go to that number. That's where I was, The chief arrived. Okay. With the capture of the chief, the general returned to the town of Appalachia, very satisfied. For it seemed to him that with the imprisonment of the Lord of... What? With the imprisonment of the Lord, the I'm going to have to read this ahead of time. What is he trying to say? For it seemed to him that with the imprisonment of the Lord, the impudences and boldness of the vassals would cease. The one place this fucker needs to put a comma, Vincent, and he doesn't put it. When you hang out, you're going to understand what I mean. This guy is just very, very descriptive. These latter, after the Castilians had entered that town, had not ceased day or night to make continuous attacks and sudden sallies and alarms, being so astute and diligent in their stratagems that they at once assaulted or wounded any Spaniard who strayed even a little distance from the camp. The general thought that all this would be ended by having the chief in his power. Oh, I scrolled past where I was reading. Oh, gosh. I scrolled like 2 pages, dude. This I'm having to do so much. I'm like, focus on the reading. You got to just stay with it. You can understand what this guy's saying. Now scroll while you do it. Oh, that was too much. The Indians, after the loss of their chief, were more free and bold, molested the Christians continuously. Nope. Nope. Back. Oh, here we go. Then, okay, Christians continuously. Okay. These latter, after the Castilians had entered the town, had not ceased day and night to make continuous attacks, that's where we were, and sudden sallies and alarms, being so astute and diligent in their stratagems that they at once assaulted or wounded any Spaniard who strayed even a little distance from the camp. The general thought all this would be ended by having the chief in his power, but his hopes turned out to be in vain, because the Indians, after the loss of their chief, were more free and bold and molested the Christians more continuously. Since, as they had no lord in whose protection and service to occupy themselves, all turned more obstinately than before to molesting and injuring the Castilians. Angered by this, Hernando talked one day with Capafi and told him of his displeasure at the great insolence and ingratitude his vassals showed at the good treatment he had accorded to their chief, and to them, in not having done the harm and damage that he might have done to their person, property, in the punishment. See, it's alliterative. You see, here's PPP, Vincent. He might have done to their persons and property in punishment of their rebelliousness. On the contrary, he had treated them like friends, and unless it was provoked by themselves, they, the Spaniards, had not killed or wounded a single Indian, nor moved to damage their towns or fields when they were able to desolate and burn the whole province as lands and houses of enemies as perverse as they were. He desired the chief to order them to cease their treasonable and shameless actions, as if he did not wish him to make war on them with fire and blood. He was to observe that he was in the power of the Spaniards, who were honoring and treating him with much respect and ceremony, and it could happen that the disrespect and excessive arrogance of his vassals would cause his death, and that the total destruction of his country. That's clear.
Which is
the chief
inevitable, anyway.
Inevitable, anyhow. The chief replied with much humility and signs of great regret, saying that he was extremely grieved that his vassals did not comply with the obligation that the mercy his lordship had showed them had placed upon them, nor were serving as he himself desired, and had attempted to... Jacob.
And had attempted to Jacob.
You can't let the dog get an ink pen. Sorry, y'all. That just becomes a toxic and nasty situation for the entire house.
He just wanted to write.
He just wants to put his thoughts down on paper.
He learned how to read already.
All over the living room.
He learned how to read. Now he wants to write.
No. He's like, that's sweet. Hang on. How do I know ink is sweet? Wait a minute. Are you taking after me? The chief replied with much humility Okay, so he's regretful that nobody listened to him or respect him. Okay, let's move past. His messages had no effect because the Indians were unwilling to believe that they were from the chief, but thought they were from strangers, nor could they bring themselves to believe in the clemency and respect his lordship had shown toward them, or that he was free. On the other hand, they suspected that he had been very ill treated, kept in irons and in prison, and this was the reason they were now more persistent and obstinate in their stratagems than before.
That is the reason, not the one he presented before with so many words, just now to contradict himself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, there's like so much of this I would skip if we weren't dedicated to authenticity and trying to get through this guy's, because there's so much, and it is the first, one of the first, right, accounts of so many of these descriptors, I mean, of these places in this culture, right? So there's so much value here, but this writer just gets in our way many times, and I'm sure I get in the way with trying to do it out loud. Nor were serving as he himself did. He therefore begged his lordship to order his captains and men that taking him under strong guard, they go with him to a place 5 or 6 leagues from the camp to which he would guide them. There in a large forest were concealed the noblest and most important of his vassals. There by day or night he would shout to them in a loud voice, calling them by their names, and on hearing the voice of their lord, they would all come at his summons. He, having undeceived them of their evil suspicions, they would be appeased and would do what he ordered them. As the event would prove, and this was the most certain and quickest way to reduce the Indians to his service, because of the respect and veneration they naturally have for their chiefs, nothing would be gained by means of messengers, nor could he negotiate through them, because they would reply that the messages were false and counterfeit, sent by the enemies themselves and not by their chief. With these words, it does. With these words, and a very chastened countenance, Capafi persuaded Hernando de Soto to send him where he asked, and thus it was ordered and carried out. 2 companies went with him, one of cavalry and the other of infantry, and they went with strict orders to guide and to watch the chief closely, lest he escape. So cautioned, they left the camp before dawn, traveled 6 leagues towards the south, and arrived about nightfall at the place where the chief said his people were in some woods nearby. As soon as Capafi reached the appointed site, 3 or 4 of the Indians who had gone with him entered the woods, and in a short time 10 or 12 others of those who had been in the woods came out. The chief ordered them to notify that night all the principal Indians who were in the woods to assemble and appear before him on the following day, that he wished to tell them personally of the things that were very important to the honor, safety, and welfare of all of them. The Indians returned to the woods with this message, and the Castilians, having posted their sentries and strong guard around the person of the chief, rested that night well satisfied with what was arranged, it appearing to them that their business was so progressing that they would be able to return from their journey with honor and glory. They did not consider that the greatest hopes that men promise themselves often turn out most vain, as happened to these Spaniards. Section 12. The chief of Appalachia, being crippled, escapes from the Spaniards on all 4s.
Okay, that's the title.
I'm going to have to screen share. That's the actual. You don't believe me, do you?
I do. I do believe you.
Chief of Appalachia, being crippled, escapes from the Spaniards on all 4s.
Okay.
This should be good, Vincent. Our Castilians, captains and soldiers, had retired to rest with great satisfaction and common rejoicing, believing that on the next day they would return to their Captain General with the victory and triumph of bringing him all the principal Indians of that province. reduced to his friendship and service with which they all expected to be left in peace and quiet. But they found that their imaginings had deceived them, for as soon as daylight came, they saw themselves without the chief and without a single one of the few Indians who had come with him. Amazed by this, they asked one another what had happened, and all of them replied that it was impossible unless the Indians had conjured up demons who had carried them away through the air, because the sentries affirmed that there had not been any carelessness whatsoever through which the chief might have made his escape. But the truth of the matter was that the Castilians, both on account of their weariness from the long journey of the previous day and because of the confidence they felt in the friendliness and fair words of Capafi and the impediment and helplessness of his person, were careless and slept, the sentries as well as the rest. Seeing their sleep and the good opportunity, the chief dared to escape from them and did so by passing on all fours through the sentries. His Indians, who were not sleeping but were plotting to waylay the Spaniards encountering him, had raised him on their soldiers, and it was a mercy God granted to the Christians that the heathen did not come back to their throats, because their own savagery and our men's drowsiness would have permitted them to do so entirely at their pleasure. But they contented themselves at seeing their Lord out of the power of the Castilians, and so that he would not again fall into their hands, they endeavored to put him in a more secure place than he had been formerly, and thus they took him where he was never seen again, then or later. Wow. They disappeared him. The two captains, whose names we omit to protect their reputation, and their good soldiers as well, made diligent search throughout these woods, hunting Capafi like a wild beast. But despite their efforts all through the day, they found no trace of him. For the bird that escapes from the snare is seldom caught. Having put the chief in safety, the Indians came out to the Christians and uttered 1,000 affronts and insults, ridiculing and mocking them, and without further provocation. Since they did not want to fight with them, they left them to return to their camp. They arrived there much abashed and ashamed that an Indian, whom they had been so strictly charged to guard, had fled from them and escaped on all fours. They told the general and the other captains 1,000 fabulous tales by way of excuse for their carelessness and to redeem their reputations, all affirming that they had heard very strange things that night and that the thing was impossible unless he had been carried through the air by demons. They swore that in any other way it was not possible, and in the view of the strong guard that they had placed over him. This is bad. When he saw the poor precautions taken, that there was now no help for it, in order to not affront these captains and soldiers, the governor pretended to believe what they said and helped them by stating that the Indians were such great sorcerers that they could do even more than that.
It's the work of the devil.
Dude, I don't know if this guy...
Demons, they say.
It's so funny. Maybe it's true. So they come running up and tell him, hey, boss, we lost the guy we were guarding because of demons, okay? No, hold on. Stay with me, boss. We were doing our job so well that it had to be demons lifted him up and he flew away. I'm telling you, really, there was no other way, okay? And then at that point, the boss says, oh, no doubt, bro. These guys right here, they can do way more than fly. Uh-huh.
Especially the fat ones that don't walk. But
right. That's bad. That's so bad.
They said to him he had to fly because it definitely didn't pass through us while we are snorting.
No.
So.
When he saw the poor precautions, where were we? Vincent, what do you think?
Yeah, that's amazing.
right? I just love Fernando going, oh, it's fine. These guys are crazy. They definitely put spells on you and can fly, no doubt. Instead of going, wait a minute, what? When he saw the poor precautions taking that they had placed over him for it, in order not to affront these captains and soldiers, Hernando pretended to believe what they said and helped them by stating that the Indians were such great sorcerers they could do even more than that. He did not fail, however, to perceive their carelessness. Okay. Returning to the 30 horsemen. Oh. Okay, Ricardo, we're back to the 30 horsemen now.
I'm gonna get a cookie.
Okay, get a cookie. Too hot. No, we need to go get some. Love you too. All right, Vincent. So we're going to return to these 30 horsemen. Somewhere in here, we're going to get to some descriptions of some native life instead of him going on and on about these Castilians, because that's kind of why I was glad to have you join, was for your perspective on some of these descriptors. So let's scroll and see where this is going. Okay, because he didn't start a new chapter. He's just returning to them without a new chapter. Huh? Oh, yeah, definitely. Returning to the 30 horsemen whom we left laboring to cross the swollen Rio de Acali. We said that those who were engaged in cutting logs in a short time had made the raft because they had come prepared for such necessities with axes and ropes. They launched it on the water with 2 long ropes with which they drew it back and forth from one side of the river to the other. 2 good swimmers carrying one of the ropes to the opposite bank. The Spaniards had done all this when the Indians of Acale approached the river with a great rush and clamor, with the desire and intention of killing the Christians. The 11 horsemen who had gained the opposite bank of the river advanced to the encounter and engaged them with such determination and courage, spearing the first ones whom they met, that the Indians did not dare wait for them. Because the land was free of both small and large timber, and the horsemen were masters of the field, they therefore withdrew, retiring slowly and contenting themselves with shooting many arrows at them from a distance. The 4 horsemen, who were on this side of the river, were. Why would you do that? WHERETHEREWERE. Where there were fewer enemies divided in pairs, 2 going upstream and 2 down, for there were Indians coming from both directions, detaining them with their assaults, so that they would not come to the place where the raft was. It made 5 voyages, while the riders defended it on either side of the stream. On the first it carried the cloaks of the 11 horsemen who were on the other side of the river, who shouted to ask for them because a north wind had come up, striking them while they were damp and had no other clothing except their shirts with coats of mail over them. Except their shirts. What? Okay. With coats of mail over them. So they had their armor on. And they were chilled with the cold. And 4 other voyages, they took over the saddles, bridles, and knapsacks, and the men who did not know how to swim, who were few in number. Those who could...
They want us to believe that they crossed the river, who had whirlwinds, or whatever it is that you said. I can't say the name. All over the place, right? Very fast waters. And they crossed it wearing coat mails that were at least 25, 30 pounds. So it isn't that fast of a river. It can't be. And
No.
Have you ever tried to put what is it they called? The what they built? What is it called?
Where? When they build where?
What they built to cross the river?
A bridge?
No, the raft.
Oh.
Jesus.
Bravo,
So-
bravo.
So So how would the raft keep up with the river in the conditions that it was described? It just would go. As soon as it touched the
Yeah.
water, bye-bye, they were
Yeah.
going. So it can't be that fast of a river.
No, no, I don't think so.
It's just
Well,
over.
I can tell you from personal experience, if anyone tries to cross a river with chain metal or armor, they would sink like a rock. I mean, there's no way they could stay buoyant.
Yeah,
It's like,
it'd be quite a special swimmer.
yeah. I mean,
It'd be
it's hard enough to stay afloat without a PFD on, and if you even have like heavy boots on, your negative buoyancy is going to be difficult to stay afloat. So yeah.
I'm now curious, Vince. How is that you know? Did you
Oh, well,
try to cross the river with it?
I've fallen in out of my kayak more than a dozen times, so I mean, I know what it's like.
You had weights on? No, I'm
It's a
just
different story, but yeah.
right. For the last voyage, there remained on this side of the river only two men. One being Hernando Atanasio, and the other Gonzalo Silvestri. The latter, while his companion drove his horse into the water and boarded the raft, went out to detain the enemy, and having driven them back with a good charge on horseback, he returned at full speed to get aboard the raft where his companion was awaiting him. Without removing the saddle or bridle from the horse, he drove him into the water and got on the raft, having unfastened the rope by which it was tied to the shore. For all the speed with which the Indians came to discharge arrows at the Castilians, the latter were already in midstream, out of danger, because of the great diligence with which their companions on the other side had applied themselves to pulling the raft across. As the horses plunged into the water, they crossed very willingly, without anyone driving or guiding them, for they seemed to sense the harm that the enemy wished to do them, and, as if they were rational beings, they promptly obeyed what they told them to do. No shit, dude. Not refusing to enter and come out of the places their masters wished, for the Spaniard this was no small relief, and they even took an example from them, setting to work more promptly, seeing that the beast did not refuse to do so.
And the Lucian and Lusitan horses are amongst the best in the world. They are work horses. They are battle horses. They are cattle horses. They can do anything. They can jump. They can do etiquette. So
All right, let's hang out because I'm not doing any more of that madman's stuff here in the sixth to seventh hour of podcasting today. I'm just not. I'm pulling the plug. I'm pulling the plug. I can't.
Let's
When
give the
I-
last 10 minutes to the last 15 minutes to Vince. I'm
Yeah,
sure
he can.
he
He
has
can
something for us.
Well, yeah, Vince can absolutely plug if anybody's still watching the last 10 minutes. Or Vince, what we could do is have you read any of the DeSoto Chronicles? Like any versions?
Yes,
You know.
I've read the entire thing. When it first was published, the four versions, I just went through it like it was the most amazing documentary, and I mean it's incredible. The stories are amazing. One of my favorites is the scene where they're breathing out through a straw in a swamp, and they stay underwater submerged so they won't get caught by DeSoto, and the Indians hide in the swamp, breathing through a reed straw like just to stay hidden. And there's some stories in there that are incredible about how they hide in canyons. I guess they situated their village in the end of a canyon that was only accessible through one way route, so they would be safe. And it reminds me of like the Chaco Canyon or Mesa Verde, like how the people went to great lengths to isolate themselves and stay clear of the Soto or the in the conquistadors or invaders that were coming on site. And
How do you explain that they describe all these vast networks of roads wide roads connecting all the village. How do you explain the fact that the messages are going ahead of the Spanish? When they arrive there, they already know that they are coming.
Yeah, that's interesting. They must have had runners to go and communicate, or some kind of way to communicate in advance that there was an urgent emergency. And I think they did describe runners that would go ahead, or they must have had some way to communicate.
So
Rick
you're not
Oswald.
with Rick Oswald. Oh, okay, you are going to that.
Yeah, I was going to Rick Osmond. Like he said, well, they use mirrors or mica mirrors, signaling. They had some kind of signal method to communicate. You had to have known, like possibly Morse code or something that would be how to communicate across vast distances.
You know that they just tested that like a week or two ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
And
they filmed it, and they are confident that they got the footage that they need to prove that the mirrors work as a system of communication. So I'm eager to see it.
interesting. Yeah. And
Thanks to
another,
the chat, everybody. Oh, go ahead. Keep going, Vincent.
I was going to say
Just
another
seeing
one
who
of,
all showed up, guys. I'm sorry. When I'm reading, I'm shit with the chat. But thank you, everybody. I see you all there. Keep going, Vincent. Appreciate
another
you guys, all your
story
support.
from the DeSoto Chronicles that's amazing is that they captured one of the chiefs, and I guess they said that they would betray him if in some way or injure another member of his family if he would not tell them the like the answer. And he, instead of telling them the answer, he cut his own head off, like literally with a flint knife, decapitated himself to avoid betraying his family. Yeah, it's so interesting. The visuals are amazing, and I mean, it really gives a firsthand account of what it was like to be
Right.
there. And I mean, it's
Yeah, I give the writer a hard time of this particular one because he's so wordy, but we have gotten some beautiful insights, about just what it was to be there, right? And
yeah,
what the land looked like. I mean, Vincent, the other night they described a cornfield that was what it was 2 leagues, Ricardo. So, and by our math, that's roughly 3 miles. By the math we're using, trying to what a league was then versus now, and versus in between is a bit it's fuzzy math.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure
we're
Vince has a more precise idea because the Spanish had several measures for the league
right,
according
right.
during the time. So, what is the measure that you are using, Vince, to read these numbers?
Do you
well,
have input on that? Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know as far as the distances. I think they were lost. I think they didn't know where they were going, and they were kind of just going wherever that they were probably trying to get to gold or the next chief and try to capture them. I think they were trying to use a ambush method of capture the chief and then, take. I think they had people that were in chain gangs. They would gather up the villagers and they would put them in chains like slaves and
Yeah,
march
yeah,
them along and
yeah. That
Yeah,
was
but
their slaves,
the
and
question is,
they trade them at different chiefdoms, right? You get to one border and you could get more, and when you got more, you could release those to go back home,
yeah.
spreading the disease and everything.
so but
Go ahead, Ricardo.
we're asking you the league. What do you think? We're thinking the
The
league is
measurement,
more or less like the mile, more or less,
mile and a
right?
half,
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
we've
be honest,
seen.
I don't know. I mean,
one point two to. I mean, somewhere in there.
Yeah, we've seen from 1.2 to the nautical mile. So it's
Yeah.
very
So
because the
we got
name is the same.
Go ahead. No, so where I was going, Vincent, was roughly, approximately a 3 mile long cornfield was described to us the other night, right? Now the distances they address in many of these chronicles, they say up front that this was not an exploratory mission per se. They were not. That was not the concern of the mission, was to explore, map, and yada yada. Right? They were there looking for things in particular. One could say gold, quite simply, was one of those. Right? But they acknowledged that that's not what they were equipped for necessarily. Was, mapping this thing and being accurate about where they were and went. To their minds, it was probably we'd get there and establish something, and we deal with it after that.
When you have a mission like this and you don't have a geographer with you, it tells a lot of what are your intentions.
See.
Yeah, and they have a list of the things they acquired during the expedition, that they included some things like silk, the silk fragments or clothing that they acquired, and they talked about different colors of silk at the end of the DeSoto Chronicles, and I thought that was really interesting. So they were after silk as well.
So where will they get the silk?
Well, I mean, I think
In
it
the
proved that-
1500s, the silk is still a secret of the Chinese.
Yeah, how would they get the silk?
Oh,
in?
we know where you're going. We know where you're going.
Well, Rick Osmond mentioned the other day that he's talked to a biologist that is possibly going to pursue more studies with the museum in Madison County and try to get that silk tested.
Yep.
The silk.
Vince has some silkworms, right? Some cocoons or something of this sort, right? That
Yeah.
No, they are in the museum.
Yeah, they're in the museum. I mean, they.
Vince, that's what he's talking about. That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But, he said, well, the museum initially just declined to allow studying of these. And I'm like, well, a silkworm literally cost 14 cents. So, look, I'll buy you a new silkworm. And, but really, they wouldn't allow it to be tested.
Vince and his battles.
But that their excuse that after you ask for that, then all of a sudden, oh, we don't know where the silk cocoons came from. They could be modern. They could be old.
Right.
And some are damaged. And you even said, well, if they were already damaged, let me cut a little bit out of it. No one will know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it would prove if there was silk, they'd have to rewrite history. And but it's already documented in the DeSoto Chronicles that they found silk. And so, but the narrative is that there was no silk before Europeans arrived. So,
Sure.
So where did they find all that silk in the DeSoto Chronicles then?
Well,
I have no idea.
according- if
I
I
haven't
underst-
come across silk in the. I mean, I haven't read that section yet. I guess.
If I understood Rick correctly,
I'll have to look that up.
I think they're trying to convince that there was this silkworm on the Americas at that time that could. It's not exactly as the Chinese, but could also produce the silk.
Right.
But
Right.
to what extent that is true, I have no idea.
I don't either. And I'm getting ready to end it. You guys want to get your own show? Oh, I'm just messing around. Vincent, you need to come hang out with us the next reading we do, and we need to try to make it we can show up at the beginning, because I am, again, just very interested in having you along to comment on this. Fans of followers of Finding Things Within and Without, my next episode, I promise I'll get back to my own dumbass just rambling away at the camera. But we've committed to doing some things, and we committed to getting some reading done, and so we needed to pop at least one episode on for my platform, and we thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us while we continue to read this oh-so-wordy son of a bitch and learn what we can about the bravery and mass genocide by the Christian Castilians, and then, of course, the tremendous feats. And we have gotten good glimpses into what sounds like a very different narrative than the one that is not necessarily what the scientists know, but still the popular narrative in general, the general populace. And that's what, to me, is important anyway, is that normal people start to get a hold of these clear realities about our past. And so that's what we're doing. We got to get through a lot of words to get there, but we're getting some value out of it. So, Vincent, come chill with us again soon, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you very much. You must be tired after all the traveling too. So.
Yeah, it's been quite the weekend. It's been quite the week, to be honest. But as always, I love hanging out with you guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for reading with me. Ricardo, thanks for hanging out all day. We've talked about Mars, and we've talked about DeSoto, and we'll get together tomorrow, y'all.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about consciousness.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow evening, we'll read Stardust, probably back over on the shaman and the philosopher, and we will dive into the subject matter of consciousness. I'm excited. I like that. I like that topic a lot. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for coming along, for adding to it. I'm sorry that we don't have a producer. We might, Vincent, I could even send you producer invites. See, I'm going to find somebody that wants to be able to take care of the chat and do all that stuff. I'd send it to Ricardo, y'all, but in this particular app, if I send him producer, then it doesn't record him.
Yeah.
When we go live. So it would just be a video without him.
And here the producer is just a producer.
Right. So in order to give him functionality, I have to lose him in the video. So that is one of the issues.
I think I can enter as a second account. So I enter my normal account, and then you send the link, and from another Google account, I can click the link and enter under other name and do the producer.
We'll try that.
Let's try that
next time.
time.
Philosopher, because you've got the logins and all, and it's on that one. So
no, you didn't understand me. Even here, I enter 2 times. Enter 1 time as I entered here, and enter also with another Google account.
Oh, I got you. That could work. Either way, it's good to have somebody other than the guy trying to read the overly verbose Inca via Portugal writer that I've come across in a long while. So sorry, chat, again. To me, it's very important that we're all building community and that we're all hanging out together and that we're all doing this together. And then before you know it, members of this community are sitting here on these shows with us, like Vince, like Sarah Braley, like so many other people that are gravitating around the nuclei of this IFNP, Institute for Natural Philosophy thing we got going on. That's it, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night. We're going to keep reading, and we're going to talk about consciousness.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Bye-bye.